let's proceed to answering the question, uh, how high, no, the height of that object is thrown. So if this is the height here, this is where your object, no, throw ang inyong object. We can use the displacement in the y component. So we can use the formula y sub f is equal to y sub I plus the v sub I yt plus the 1/2 gt squared. So in this case, we don't have the value of our initial y. So we can cancel that out. And since based on our discussion, solving kagaina, the value of the v sub iy is 0, so we can also cancel that out. So we will be left with y na lang. You can, pwede na siya walay sub f actually, kaya siya naman lang ang y, is equal to 1/2 gt squared. So if you try to substitute it, that's 1/2. The value of gravity is negative 9.8 meters per second squared multiplied by the time, which is 5 seconds, which is being squared. So in this case, if we get the half of 9.8, that is basically negative 4.9 meters per second squared. And then you multiply it by the square of 5 seconds, which is 25 second squared. So if you try to multiply 25 times the negative 4.9, no, you can cancel out basically the s squared there because that would just be equal to 1. So if you multiply the two, that is negative 122.5 meters. So this is now the this 122.5. Yes, 122.5 meters. That is now the displacement in the y-axis. But again, I would like to emphasize that is negative kasi the movement of the ball is below the point of origin. But the question is the height. We do not use a negative value of the height because height is a scalar quantity. So we simply change the y into h. Kasi ang ibig sabihin ng y there, the negative, is the displacement of the ball in the y-axis. So we can simply use or change that into h equals 122.5 meters. That means the height of the kanang cliff plus the hand upper lower limb of Miss Alice is 122.5. So the ball was thrown 122.5 from the or above the ground, no? Kung ano siya gingana ba? So that's 122.5. Okay. Next, velocity after it hits the ground. So the velocity after it hits the ground. That's very ano ba, medyo tricky, no? Kaya nga nung unsa man na siya nga velocity all around, all about. So let's try to check muna the velocity in the y. Okay? So we can simply use the formula v sub fy is equal to v sub iy plus gt, no? Kana siya. So in this case, we don't have the value of the initial velocity because the initial velocity started here kasi. Tapos our solving kagaina, the y component of the initial velocity kagaina is 0. So that's why we can cancel this out. So we will be left with v sub y. You don't need to put the f there kaya is siya naman lang isa velocity. So v sub y is equal to gt. The value of your g is negative 9.8 meters per second multiplied by your time, which is 5 seconds. Okay, 5 seconds mani abot, no, ang imong ball from the point of origin to the ground. So that's 5 seconds. So 5 seconds. In this case, you simply need to multiply the two, but you can cancel out the seconds there kasi that would be equal to 1. So you have there 9.8, which is negative 9.8. You multiply it by 5. So you will be 9.8 times 5. That's negative 49. Okay? So you have there negative 49 meters. Ay, sorry, mali. I forgot the squared there. So you have to get 1 of the second pala. Sorry, I forgot the squared. So it will be like this, huh? I would like to remind you. So this will become meters per second squared times second. So 1 second there and the other one, yun yung natanggal. So you will still have the value or the unit meters per second. So this is now the velocity of the y component here in this case. Kanang dinaa. The y v sub y component of the velocity after it hits the ground. This one. So the value there is negative 49 meters per second. But it is negative kasi the movement of the ball is downwards. No? Below siya sa point of origin. Kaya siya negative. So that's negative 49 meters per second. This is the y component of that velocity. But when you will be asked, what is the velocity of the ball? So this is additional na ha kay we already solved naman the question, the v sub y of the velocity. So mo na ni siya negative 49. But how are we going to answer the question, what is the velocity of the ball as it reached or before it hits the ground? Here, before it hits the ground. How are we going to solve that? Okay, so we are going to solve that by simply using all of the components. So we have here the v sub. Actually, technically speaking, this will now become v sub x. Ito. This is just now v sub x, no? Equals 10 meters per second. And this is actually v sub y, uh, negative 49, negative 49 meters per second. So to be able for us to solve for the velocity good of the ball before it hits the ground, so we simply use the Pythagorean theorem, which is the velocity, kanisha, kana, velocity is equal to the square root of the Vx squared plus Vy squared. So it's, in this case, we have 10 meters per second, which is squared, plus negative 49 meters per second, which is also squared. So we have here 10 times 10 is 100. 100. Tapos the unit meters squared per second squared. Plus, you have there negative 49. So when you have negative 49 squared, you will be given with a positive 2,401. So 2401. 2401. That's 2401 meters squared per second squared. So if you add them, that's 100 plus 2,401, you will have 2,501 meters squared per second squared. So you simply get sorry, simply get the square root of 2,501. Okay, so if you have the square root of 2,501, you will end up with 50, wait lang, 50.00, tama ba? Wait lang. That's 009999. So, apat siya na 9. Dalawang 0, tsaka apat na 9. So, that's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ay, na nasa babaw. 002. Okay? 002. 002. So, sorry for the one. So, we have 50.00 9999,002 meters per second. So, this is the velocity of the ball as it before it hits the ground. So, mao gid na siyang iyahang velocity. But when you say the x component, it's 10. But when you say the y component, it's negative 49 meters per second. Okay?